And next up, we've got Marcus Gayle. Take it away, Marcus.
Hey Jude, don't make it bad.
Louder!
Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let her into your heart, and then you can start to make it better.
Hello, I'm Stu Wakeford. This is the warm-up, show 13. Unlucky for some, but not me, as joining me as always is Brentford women's gaffer, Karleigh Osborne, and the ambassador, little Marcus Gayle. You looked really small last week, mate. Sorry about that, that was our fault. This week is a Pontus Jansson special, as I managed to catch up with him in the week. I can listen to him all day, but I only had 15 minutes. He was on top form though, and here's a little teaser.
All of them players that came that season were more or less Premier League players. Like Ethan, I always say Ethan for me is unbelievable, probably the best player, centre back I've played with. I love playing with him.
I think he's underrated.
Yeah, he is. For me, he's much better than me. So if you give me praise, he's much better. But I think me and him, we have a relationship that we make ourselves, especially I make him good. So when I am there next to him.
But you're being modest here, right? Because he'll probably say the same about you. That's what partnerships are, right?
Yeah, but I love playing with Ethan. We have a very nice relationship.
Get on there, I love Pontus. And of course, we will still be chatting about Newcastle last week. And Karleigh, you're going to get back on the tactics board for us, aren't you? What you got for us?
Yeah, a little bit of stuff about Everton, how they'll be playing, what they've done previously, and how I see the game possibly playing out.
Love that, love that. Right, before we go any further, you may have seen that yesterday we became the first Premier League side to launch their kit for next season. If you missed it, here's the launch video.
Being a Brentford fan is, to me, basically about half my life.
Yeah, it's more than football, man.
It's like a roller coaster ride that you don't know what you're going to get.
Being back in the Premiership, it's just unbelievable. Bringing tears to my eyes.
That's right, making memories last longer. We've made some pretty special memories in this kit so far this season, and we'll be wearing it again next year. By the way, we're the first Premier League side to do so since 2009. That's rolling over their home shirt. Lads, what do you make of it, rolling over the shirt?
I think it's a good gesture. I think it helps the fans as well. It's a great shirt anyway, so why not?
Karleigh?
Yeah, same as Gayle, really. It's a good gesture.
Yeah, nice. Well, look, I know there's going to be a lot of excitement around new shirts normally. Don't worry, that doesn't mean you're not going to get that and you're not going to have a new away shirt or third shirt. In fact, you may have seen John Varney's very exciting comments about what we can maybe be looking forward to for next season. Right, also got something to look forward to in a huge game on Sunday against Everton. But first, let's look back at last weekend and Newcastle. I'm honest, when I used to watch the Premier League, I used to think this Premier League's a bit boring actually. I love the Championship. Now we're here. Premier League's not boring at all. It's lively. Every game is unbelievable. I couldn't keep my eyes off that one last Saturday up at St James's. It was end to end, almost like a basketball game. What did you make of it, Karleigh?
Yeah, I thought it was a very exciting game. It was one of the games for the neutrals, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, whatever team you're supporting on that day, your heart would have been racing, that's for sure. But it was a great game to watch. Obviously, lots of goals. Sometimes the defending kind of was a little bit questionable, maybe at times. But Brentford showed some real spirit, and it was good to see the goals going in again as well.
You say the defending. Thomas actually said that in post-match. He said we didn't defend well enough. What do you think would have annoyed him about the defending as a defender yourself?
I think some of just kind of the decisions that was made, and some maybe a little bit of the ease that things happened. Because to be honest, Brentford defend extremely well. We know how well Brentford defend. When we look at the stats on goal ratios and things like that, they're up there. So I think Thomas would have been disappointed in that, but at the same time, we understand that in order for us to go forward and be a little bit more expansive, at times that may happen in certain games, and that's just one of those things. And obviously Newcastle with their new manager coming in and wanting to prove a point, the players would have been up for it. So all of that would have played a part as well.
Yeah.
In terms of how Newcastle performed.
Do you, both managers might have been a bit frustrated at stopping the cross from source because both sides conceded from a cross. Do you see what I mean? Sergi crossing in for Rico's goal. Matt Ritchie can maybe stop that, and then we said it on the other side with St Maximin. Is it little things like that, Marcus?
You have to stop things at source the best you can. The game was, as we said last week, it was going to be an open one. Didn't expect to score that amount of goals, but I think the old saying is when you score 3 goals away, you expect to win the game. But the other half of it that no one don't really talk about is conceding 3 goals as well. But that was the nature of the game, and it was a great spectacle.
I want to talk about Ivan's performance. I think for me, St Maximin was the only person that came close to running in for man of the match. For credit was due, he's probably one of the best players we've played this year, St Maximin. What did you make of Ivan on Saturday? Because obviously, some people might say he had a bit of a point to prove, kind of going into that one.
I just think he's got a point to prove every match within himself. He rates himself highly, and so he should. I don't think by going back to Newcastle he had anything special to prove. He knows he's a good player. They know he's a good player. What I was pleased about was the reaction after conceding that first goal. We went down the other end, and with his that touch just over the shoulder to set him up for the strike was brilliant.
Yeah. And another goal for Rico, 2-2. Pep maybe wasn't wrong. Maybe investing in fullbacks all those years ago, and everyone was like, he's spending a lot of money on fullbacks. Turns out fullbacks are massively important. 2-2 for a fullback though, Karleigh. You don't say that very often, do you?
Yeah, listen, it's brilliant, and I think he alluded to it in his post-match interview where he said, Thomas has asked him to be in that final third and be on the end of crosses, and likewise for Sergio on the other side, and he's really taken that information on and doing that. I don't know how he does it with the fitness level, because I couldn't do it. I can tell you that much. Down, it just goes to show how fit he is and how well he looks after himself.
Yeah.
And it's good to see him getting rewards of that.
It's crazy to think that he's got more league goals than Harry Kane at this precise moment.
You messaged me that.
I think that's the blessing of having the wing backs, is that they can both be up in the box. Same time, one's crossing, one's finishing.
We looked at how many people we had in that final third for that goal. Well, look, one man who's had a little less luck in front of goal this season, well, over the last 3 years, is Pontus Jansson. I sat down with him in the week and I had to mention it, really, didn't I? Pontus, first of all, thanks for joining me, mate.
Thank you.
Look, you waited a long time, 5 years in the Championship, 3 playoff campaigns, finally got there to the promised land of the Premier League. Is it everything you imagined it would be?
Yeah, I would say so, yes. We had a very fantastic start, both performance-wise and result-wise. Now we're coming from 4 losses and now finally a point against Newcastle. So the start was fantastic, and that of course helped to have that feeling of, Premier League is fantastic. If we lost all of them 7, 8 games in the beginning, of course, the feeling wasn't be the same about Premier League, but now I think performances so far, out of them, 24 halves we have played, I think 22 of them I'm very satisfied with. Maybe 1 or 2 of them hasn't been good enough, but yeah, if we just keep performing well, then we're gonna be fine. That's how I feel.
Last season we spoke just before the playoff campaign. We made a little joke about, it's kind of the fact that you maybe hadn't scored yet. Like, it's not even funny now, right? It's getting beyond the joke, because you must be the unluckiest man in front of goal. Like the save at West Ham, Mendy's save from you.
But last year, I agree with you, it was a shame. I wasn't even close. I was not even close to touch the ball in the opponent's box. But now, this season I've been very unlucky.
Have you got something planned for when it does happen?
No, I haven't.
Because normally this is where the interview would go, when you score, will you do this? But I don't even want to tell you to do something, because I just want to see what the natural emotion happens.
But it have to be an important goal. If it's a
so
goal,
if it's 4-0 already, you're not going to...
Yeah, of course, if we win it, then of course. But if we're 2-0 down and I score, maybe it's not going to be the same emotion. But yeah, hopefully, I always said to the boys, I'm saving it to an important stage. But it have to be soon, because it's almost, like you said, it's 3 years since my last goal. And
wow.
It's not acceptable. It should be a fine. And I know that Matthew and the owners, they're not happy with me, but
it's going to come.
Believe me, I do all I can. So hopefully coming soon.
Well, look, let's talk about the season so far. And I'm not just saying this because you sat in front of me. I think last year, I know you had a bit of time out, but you and Ethan, best centre-halves in the league for me. I actually think, I don't know what you think about this, I think you're playing better this year, personally. I think you've been absolutely unbelievable so far. How have you found it on the pitch, and what have been the differences?
Yeah, but like I said, out of them 24 hours I played, there's a lot of them I'm very satisfied and happy with. It's often linked with if I perform well, or if the team perform well, I'm often performing well as well. This season I'm a little bit more focused on myself, because when you play against the best players in the world, you have to have focus on your own battles, your own duels. In Championship, when I knew what it was, I knew what I'm gonna face, then you can a little bit more focus on the rest, helping your teammates and the organization and so on. Here is a little bit more for me also to have the focus on my own duels. When you play lines, Lukaku, Antonio, you can't really focus on everyone else because you have a battle against the best player in the world yourself. So that changed a little bit. That's maybe also why I perform also individual on a little bit higher level than I used to do in Championship. But yeah, I'm quite happy. Of course, I wanted a bit of more clean sheets, maybe some more points. But performance-wise, it has been good. But yeah, as a fan, I know you're not always looking on them things. You're looking at how many actual goals you concede or actual points you have in the table. But looking on the bigger stage, then of course I'm quite happy with the performances.
And when you were talking about those strikers, Lukaku, Antonio, people like that, what is the difference between them and because it's really hard for me. I go, oh, they're just better. But you see like the intricacies and stuff. What is it that makes them so good?
But I think if you play against, when I play with, take Sweden national team for an example, we play in a very low block of 4-4-2. We're standing almost in our own box for 90 minutes. And of course then you don't have them duels in the same way when you play against, we play against Portugal, France and so on. Here when we play almost 1-against-1 with half of the squad, half of the pitch behind you. And when you do that against Lukaku, of course, it's one step wrong and he's 1-against-1 with the goalkeeper. So that's the difference. I actually like it. It's very nice. It makes you switch on for 90 minutes, and it's very like after games I'm mentally fatigued, mentally tired because you can't really switch off. I think that's the biggest difference from Championship and Premier League.
And what about you as a captain? Because even in my job, us going into Premier League, my job's changed. I have to do a lot more stuff like.
And you like it, huh?
Yeah, I love it. But also like I have to do a bit more paperworky stuff as well and protocols. Has your role as a captain had to change? Do you have to do more meetings, or do you have to be involved in different things more?
In the beginning, it was a lot of like captains meeting and meeting with faces you have seen them, but you never really talked to them before and so on. But now, I would say now it's not so much of a difference. You can feel, of course, when you play games, especially against the bigger teams, when you come out here, you see the studios lined up all over the pitch in Championship. There was almost no one there, so of course that's a big difference. So I'm living the dream. It's so fun, you know. I just sometimes feels like, why can't I do this earlier when I was like 23, 24, 25? Why should I do that now when I'm 30? But hopefully I can keep performing on this level for a couple of seasons more. But I'm just enjoying it so much, and I think that's a general feeling in the club and in the squad, players, staff, everyone. That it's just so fun to play on this level. Kind
of on the captain's thing, like we've spoken about it before last year a lot, and we were saying, me and Jamie before, we're going since kind of Jonathan Douglas and Kevin O'Connor really, and maybe Tony Craig. There's never been a more obvious natural captain at this football club that as soon as he came in that we knew was going to be such a big leader. And Thomas has said that how instrumental you've been in our success over the last 3 years and saw a real difference when you came in. All these things around that stuff, mate, the most obvious thing would be, will you be a manager one day?
But first of all, I appreciate that. You know, it's nice to hear them things. I think in my football career, both as a person on the pitch, outside the pitch, I've never been someone else. I've always been myself, and if people like that, of course, I appreciate that. And so I'm just probably a natural leader then. I always said I have to be the one setting example. It's not for me that I'm just going out on the pitch, don't do anything. I'm just demanding other people, and on the pitch when we play, demanding. I want to lead by example. That's my mantra. And if the general opinion is like this, what you now say, and I'm very happy that I'm doing things right. But no, it's been 3 very, very successful years and nice years here at Brentford. Hopefully we can keep on doing well. Hopefully I can keep on doing well. But I appreciate listening and hearing them words. If you become a manager, maybe.
Does that something that appeals to you?
I don't know. To be fair, I haven't really been thinking about it. One day I know that I'm gonna move home to Malmö. I'm a Malmö fan myself. Everyone probably knows that. So we'll see what the future brings. But I'm so focused now on staying here and play for Brentford. I'm loving every second of it, and can't take things for granted.
Well, you kind of touched on there the way you conduct yourself, and I've seen it firsthand around the training ground. You're always the first in, the way you're demanding of everyone, of the standards, and you're driving all that stuff. There'll be a lot of players in our squad that will look to you and go, that's how I need to act as a professional footballer, that's how I need to do things, and it will shape them as players and as humans. So who were the people when you were a young player that you saw doing these things, or were you always just naturally doing that?
I think when I was younger, especially when I came to England, I came from 2 tough years in Italy, where in Italy it's a totally different mindset. You know, there they think about themselves, and it's a more individual sport than a collective sport. Like everyone fights for their spot in the team and so on. And I had a little bit of that when I came to England, 5 years ago. And I wasn't the best. I'm saying that. I was very not cocky, but I was went my own way. Like if someone said to me, "Go left," I went right. And I still have parts of it in myself. When I lose my head sometimes in trainings, I'm not a good leader. I'm not a good example for the rest. And then Thomas is always on me directly. And then I just switch off and going back to be that leader again. So I have them parts inside me. And that's something you can't just change. I would love to change it, but sometimes it just happens when I lose my head. Of course, that's not good. And also what I have to think about the other players and the young players, I have to, like you said, be the example for them. So I can't be like this. But yeah, so when that happens, Thomas and the staff was always on me directly, like, "Pontus, think about this, change it." And then, I just tell him, "Pontus, stop." And then I try to behave better again and lead by example. But of course, every people can do mistakes.
You can clearly see the relationship that you've got with Thomas and Brian and the team. You've been on such a journey with them, but you've also been on a journey with us as fans, because you look now, Brentford, Premier League, very glamorous. You've got the lovely stadium, but you've been part of the other side where we're at our old home, Griffin Park, less luxurious, and it was tough times. You've also been through heartbreak with this football club. When you look at those 3 years, what's been the biggest change sat here now as a Premier League captain of Brentford?
Obviously, coming into this, where we now sit in this stadium, that changed the club, I would say. That made that this club was ready for Premier League. Yeah. Also the squad that we started to build that season when I came in, with me, with David, Ethan, Christian, all of them players are now influential and very important for this team. So I think that season, if it was something that just happened or just clicked, or was a plan for them to that season, they wanted to make that last step. But that season when I came and when them players I just mentioned came, that was like the start of this. And I would say all of them players that came that season were more or less Premier League players. Like Ethan, I always say Ethan for me is unbelievable, probably the best player, centre back I played with. I love playing with him.
He's underrated.
Yeah, he is. For me, he's much better than me. So if you give me praise, he's much better. But I think me and him, we have a relationship that we make ourselves, especially I make him good. So when I am there next to him.
But you're being modest here, right? Because he'll probably say the same about you. That's what partnerships are, right?
Yeah, but I love playing with Ethan. We have a very nice relationship. But then Christian for me, the MVP. He's a Premier League player already 3 years ago. So I would say that summer, something happened with the club. And then, of course, that summer when we lost the last 2 games of the season against, was in Stoke and Barnsley. I can't really put words into that, how tough it was. Then we found new energy going into the playoff final and then lose again in an empty Wembley. Same. I haven't really have the time to think about it, because we had then 6 or 7 days off before we started the new season. So since I came, it has been very hectical and no time to switch off. And I just said in an interview in here, the only time where I really could breathe out and enjoy was on the pitch on Wembley after the playoff final, where you could just go around and having the trophy in your hand and just enjoying. Because in football, there's always something new coming, you know.
Yeah.
Always a new game, always a new training session. And like I said, as a captain, you have to lead by example. And I have to, so now when I get older as well, I have to prepare myself for training sessions and be clever with everything. So. Yeah, been very hectic since I came to Brentford, and but yeah.
I saw a quote, and maybe this has been slightly lost in translation. I think it was when you were speaking to a Swedish publication, where you said, "Brentford is my passion, and along with my family, it's everything that I live for." And I thought that was a really massive thing for a football player to say about the club they play for, because I can't think of many footballers in the Football League or Premier League saying that their club they play for is their passion. What did you mean by that? Because it was a massive thing when I saw it.
Yeah, but it's also, sometimes that can be a bit dangerous, because I had exactly the same feeling when I played for Leeds. The clubs I play for, I invest so much, I invest my whole life, I put all of myself and my soul into it. And then things like what happened for me in Leeds can happen. I mean, you never know. If a manager or owner or something was okay, now Pontus is not good enough, we want to change. Then I put all of my life into that club, and 1 second later they just throw you away. So in football you never know, but here I just love every second. My relationship with Brentford is gonna be special, because it was not that they called me to come. I was almost calling them to please can I come to Brentford? And in modern football that's not very, very common. So that relationship between me and them will always be special. And But I think just that's for me, that's a normal thing. I love playing for Brentford. I'm here, I'm abroad. The only thing I have is my wife and my daughter, and they accept me to be like this. I put all of my life into this. I'm, like I said, first in, not always the last out, but often the last out as well. So I invest so much. Sometimes that's maybe too much, but yeah, I love every second of Brentford.
Are you always thinking about football when you're not at training and stuff like that? Are you studious with football? Do you watch other systems and other teams and go?
A little bit. I mean, I'm often in conversations with Thomas and with Brian about the defensive structure and so on. So, but I would say I have my load on the training ground. When I come home, I do other things. I have my wife, my daughter, and I'm playing computer games and just switch off.
Gamer?
Yeah, I'm a big gamer.
What games do you play?
I'm playing Counter-Strike. It's a computer game, PC game.
I have you down for that.
So I'm a big gamer. Yeah. So that's my time of switching off.
Yeah, and you mentioned there your wife and your daughter. I saw last week she had the bus stop from Hounslow jumper on. I wanted to talk to you about that because obviously as fans that started off as a little dig from our rivals that we've kind of now flipped and we wear it as a badge of honour and we love it as fans. Like, what do you think of that as a phrase?
It's very fun. The fan base we have is good. I think they are the reasons why we are here. The semi-final and the final last year, how they stepped up and helped us, and then some of the games we had at home this year has been unbelievable. And sometimes you don't have to have a big fan base and have a stadium with 50,000. It's enough. Like we have 16, 17,000. If as long as they come with passion and heart, it's enough. So,
amazing. Well, look, we spoke a lot about you being a leader, a captain, a centre half. I did a bit of research. And I found this video. Do you know what's coming? I didn't know you had this in your locker.
I don't know.
Right? I didn't know you had the freestyle skills. Did you know this is on YouTube?
Yeah. When I was young, actually competing in how you say football freestyle.
What, you actually competed in
Yeah,
this?
but it was like you put up videos on internet. This is, 15 years ago.
Can you still do any of this?
Yeah, but I think the physios are not going to be happy if they see
I was going to say, Jamie's got a football there, but there's no way we're going to get you to do it.
Come to the training ground and give me a ball when I'm warm, then I will give you some magic. I mean, I have a magic hat for a reason.
Exactly.
So this was huge in Sweden 10, 15 years ago.
Wow, amazing. Well, look, thanks for your time, mate.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Cheers. I love him so much. I don't know if it's that obvious, but like I said in there, I think he's been even better this year in the Premier League. Marcus, when you stepped up to the Premier League, did it make you a better player?
Yeah, I was surrounded by better players. The standards were a lot higher, and I had to sort of rise to that challenge, which I think I did over many years. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, look, let's see who Pontus could potentially be lining up against on Sunday against Everton. Karleigh, what have you got for us to look at here?
So we've done a little bit of research on Everton. Obviously they're on a winless run at the moment. They've lost 2 out of the last 3, 1 draw. So it's going to be interesting. They've been playing a 4-4-1-1 formation, sometimes a 4-4-2. But with their injuries and suspensions at currently, obviously they're missing Damari Gray now. Obviously Richarlison is suspended now as well.
Calvert-Lewin still out.
Yeah. So that's going to make a big difference to what they do. So I think, he said in his interview after the Man City game that they tried to play the counter-attacking style against Man City. They had to sit in, what Man City's like, and he said after that he wants to play in a completely different way against Brentford, which was interesting. So I was speaking to Gayle, and potentially what they could do is they could go to a 4-2-3-1, which kind of gives them a similar base of the 4-4-1 formation, but allows them to possibly have a little bit more pressure going forward, and maybe try, in their mind, they might try and think they can pin our wing backs back a bit more.
So I want to talk to you about that, because this is what always scares me is about these formations, is you go, right, well then, so there's Rico and where have I got Sergi here. We don't know if they'll be our wing backs, but they have been lately. So I always get scared then you can get 2v1, because especially with these two fullbacks in Digne and Coleman, they bomb on. Is that not a big problem? How do we stop this?
Well, I think it can be a problem, but I think the difference with us is I think we're quite brave with our wing backs going forward. So I think it will work the other way. I think Rico, and obviously you've seen that with the recent goals that Rico's been scoring and how our wing backs have got forward and got in the 18-yard box. I think with Rico and Sergi, I think they're more likely to play a bit higher because they'll want to play the other way and try and pin these two back. Because in fairness to these two fullbacks, you know, Digne and Seamus Coleman, they both like to get forward as well.
Yeah.
So I think it could be more like that. I think.
And then is that where, like, you're say Ethan's left side, he would then come out and then you go one on one?
You'll have one there tuck round, the other one slightly tuck in as well.
So you'd take Pontus one on one with Rondon if it's Pontus, and then you get Ethan or the other right side of centre back to take out.
Yeah, the right side of centre back will just tuck in here. We'll tuck in here, obviously, depending on where Iwobi is, but he'll tuck in here. We've got Norgard still that will be sitting in front of, and we'll hopefully kind of, you know, protect that there. Also, Rondon isn't really going to run in behind too much. I feel like he's going to be more of a focal point. Everton like to play a bit more direct. So, you know, I think they will, Godfrey and Keane will kind of play more into him. And then it's about dealing with Townsend and around there. He will probably be more of a danger because he'll try and run off Rondon.
Is another thing that could influence how far forward the two fullbacks go, these two.
Yeah.
And obviously if they've come forward, you've got one-on-one there. And then you were saying something about where Brian will be looking there.
Yeah, for me, you know, if these two are brave and they want to try and come forward because they think they're going to, you know, take Sergi and Rico back, then Brian's going to have an absolute field day running down here and pulling out Keane into these positions here. Ivan Toney occupying this central part, you know, that's going to cause a real problem for these two centre halves and obviously these midfielders as well. They're naturally going to try and sit behind and kind of, you know, keep the game ticking, defend these two as much as they can. But we know how dangerous Brian and Ivan's partnership can be. And I think, you know, Brian's going to be looking to dart in here and kind of going in here, especially if the fullbacks are pushing on as well. There's a lot of space in those areas then as well for us to build on.
Looking at the game, Marcus, we're not on a great run. I know we stopped the rot and we got a draw at least. They'll be coming here to win, surely. Like you said as well, they're not on a great run themselves, but they've also got a Merseyside derby coming up against Liverpool, then Arsenal, followed by Palace and Chelsea. They need a win, right? Look, with their fixtures coming up as well. Do you think they're going to come and play attacking and come at us, though?
Yeah, I definitely think they will come out and attack. They have to try and go for the win, and by doing that, they're going to, you know, leave some spaces at the back that we can go and exploit. They've seen the record with our wing backs creating goals, scoring goals. They know that's a threat for them to kind of contain, but they also have to contain our front two as well. So we've got to pose them quite a lot of problems, and we're good enough on the ball. That's the thing with us. We're really good on the ball. We saw in our last home match, it was a bit of an even game in terms of possession at times, that we looked like our natural self, even though we didn't win it, but we looked more comfortable in terms of being on the ball. I think Sunday's going to be more or less the same.
Yeah. So do you think this isn't going to be the basketball game that we saw at Newcastle? Do you think it could turn into something like that?
I don't think it will start like that. Yeah. I think it could potentially end up like that personally. They are going to, I think, you know, they need points on the board. They're in a difficult patch at the moment. You know, they're missing some of their more key players and bigger players. So they're going to see this game as an opportunity to you know, hopefully get 3 points. But also, if they do come at us, I think that plays into Brentford's hands, to be honest, because I think with that there'll be so much more space for Brentford to play in. Brentford, you know, they play better when teams come at them rather than sit in.
Yeah.
So I think they'll almost play into that hands. And Everton, Rafa's teams aren't necessarily just gung-ho anyway, in fairness. So, you know, I think he'll be wanting them to do a bit more going forward. But whether they'll come and take the shackles off and, you know, try and make it that game and be brave enough to make it end to end, I'm not sure.
Can't wait. Well, it is going to be a cracker. And remember, like Pontus said, we don't need 50,000 of you. 17,000 in full voice, like you've been this season, can make all the difference. So let's get behind the lads again. That's it for this week. Come on, you Reds. You Reds!